Walking with our sisters. This is Go. I'm Mary Ruth Harris. We're on location at the Comox First Nation in the Comox Valley for the opening of the Walk with Our Sisters exhibit, which arrived on Monday with great ceremony.
Our chief wants to know the intention today.
They come on behalf of Walking with Our Sisters as part of a memorial for our murdered and missing indigenous women across this great land. They come asking to use our territory to do this great work.
Gela kasla, gela kasdakwala lokolatle, gela kasla gigigame, gela kasla ninoksola. On behalf of the Comox First Nation, the hereditary chiefs of the Comox people, I would like to extend a hand of friendship to all of you. It's important that we come together as family, and it's important that we come together to hold one another up for such an important event. And we welcome you here today. Gela kasla.
The Walk with Our Sisters exhibit is a sacred memorial to the over 1,800 murdered and missing Indigenous women across Canada. It will be here at the Comox First Nation until August 15th. Coming up first, the story in the Comox Valley, but following, some interviews you don't want to miss. I'm Mary Ruth Harris. You're watching Go Island on Shaw TV's Channel 4. We are on location at the Comox First Nation Band Hall. Joining me now is Kaya Everson. Now, Kaya, your generation are some of the age group that have gone missing. Now, you are also in college and you're studying, as your dad says, all the ologies. And what is your take on all of this?
Well, just coming from a place of love and respect and trying not to get too overwhelmed, because as a woman and also as First Nations, I mean, our statistics are just staggering for missing and murdered women and for incarceration rates and for drug and alcohol abuse and all of this, and it's just to come from a place of understanding and trying to be really delicate with people who enter this installation, because other people will have different experiences with it. They can come in with, oh, like, I'm fine, whatever, and then all of a sudden 2 seconds later, they're just bawling, and it's a very emotional time for all of us, men and women, but it needs to be done. And too many people just don't know, or are too ignorant to even acknowledge. And so this is a very important event, and I feel like people of all sorts of backgrounds should be a part of it in some sort of way, at least walk in and get a feel for it and just open their hearts to understanding.
What you've created here, it's really a sacred space.
Oh, for sure.
And When you first found out that the Comox First Nation Band was going to be hosting this, what were your thoughts about that?
Honestly, I didn't think it was going to be as big. But now that I've come into here and I've learned more about this memorial, I feel so blessed to have it in my hometown and on my reserve, and like I only live up the trail, right? And it's just it's overwhelming, honestly, and with joy, with sadness, there's so much healing that needs to be done in all reserves and all communities.
Kaya, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, no
really
problem.
appreciate you taking the time to chat with us a bit. All right, we're going to watch this from the Campbell River, but we'll be back. I'm Mary Ruth Harris. Joining me now is Ann Davis, who is heavily involved in this sacred installation, Walking with Our Sisters. And you started working with Ramona on this about 1.5 years ago.
I think it was about that, yes.
And why did you say yes when she called?
Because I've worked in this community for 25 years around issues of women experiencing violence. I work with the Transition Society, and I was acutely aware of the problem. In our sector, we talk a lot about the missing and murdered Aboriginal women, the lack of a national inquiry, the lack of general awareness about this issue. And so when I heard, and I knew about Walking with Our Sisters, I had been aware of it for a while. So when Ramona called and said she was, involved in bringing it to Comox and would I help, it was a natural fit to get on board.
When you were here on Monday for the arrival,
Yes.
what was that like for you?
Oh, it was overwhelming. It was so beautiful to see such a cross-section of our community surrounded by people of the Comox First Nation, coming together and walking down that road towards us to be greeted by Chief Rob Everson, to have men who are in positions of leadership, Aboriginal men of the Comox First Nation standing up for the women, to have men and women walking and being a part of that, it was huge. I can't really quite put words to it.
And now that it's all started to be unpacked and we see it all around us, how does it, you walk in the morning and what's the first feeling?
My first feeling is awe and gratitude at the way that the community has come together. This, you can appreciate, is a huge piece of work. It's 4 days to install this, months of planning ahead of time. It started with Lee and Ramona and I, and then a committee of about 35 people.
Wow.
And then a volunteer base of about 300. And everybody has had tasks to do in that, and everybody is making this happen. So that's kind of my first response as I look at this and think, wow, this is incredible. This is our community coming together. And I believe that it's changing our community in some profound ways. And I also kind of at the, that's the macro level. At the micro level, I'm looking at vamps that were made to honor individual women. Some of them not for individual women, but just in response to the call. But a lot of them were made with a particular woman in mind.
Yes.
And I find that incredibly touching, to see all of them together. And there is so much love and hope and longing and grief in these vamps, that all of that it's a bit overwhelming.
What would your message be to the Comox Valley community?
Come out and see this. This is an incredible opportunity to experience a national issue in a very personal, very beautiful way. I think art touches, it impacts our brains in a different way than reading a newspaper article.
Yes.
And these are pieces of art. They're pieces of love and art. And so come and see it. Come and be a part of this. Come and experience it.
And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. I'm Mary Ruth Harris. Joining me now is Tracy Bear. Tracy, have you been involved with this right from the beginning?
From the beginning installation, Edmonton, Amiskwaci, Waskahiganik was the very first community that had Walking with Our Sisters, and we invited and we were honored to have them be the first installation. So I was one of the 4 lead organizers for that, and I thought my job was finished then, but I think Christy had other ideas. Shortly after, I was asked to be on the National Collective, and now I'm one of the people that travel with the installation and help communities and support them as they host this memorial.
This is the 13th installation,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah, it is.
And how many more years will this continue to travel through Canada or North America?
6 more years.
6 more
I
years.
think we're going to need more knee pads. 6 more years it's going all across Canada, yes.
And after it leaves the Comox First Nation, where does it go?
I believe it's Ottawa next.
Okay.
Yes, I believe we're on to Ottawa, yeah, so.
And so each installation is just a 2-week period?
A maximum of 2 weeks. It is a very profound, deeply moving memorial, and the organizers, we recognize that it's a heavy load for them. So to go any longer for them we don't want to. We don't want to jeopardize their health or our welfare, and we need to let them free after about 2 weeks, and that's enough time for them to have enough advertising so that they branch out and have a lot of people come to them. So we think 2 weeks is about the maximum. 1 week I think is the shortest we've done. So yeah.
What have you seen occur? People walk in and they're one way, they walk out. They're like, what has that experience been like for you?
Well, this is my 6th installation, and I have to say, first of all, to start with the volunteers. Seeing the change in the volunteers and the community members. Much of the National Collective, we Skype with the community prior to us meeting them, so they're having these community conversations, and each time we Skype with them, we see this tremendous amount of unity and growth and cohesion as a group. The relationships start to build, and then when we get here, they're like this family, and then every single time they welcome us as a family, and so you see that growth. And then maybe the volunteers come in and you see them in the morning. They have these 4-hour shifts, but sometimes they don't leave. They start talking with their neighbors, and if you look around, you'll see them chatting. They talk about their children, they talk about their experiences. So you see this tremendous growth of relationship building that may not have otherwise happened. So here we have this beautiful, haunting, glorious memorial that honoring our missing and murdered, and all of these relationships being built because of it. That's one of the most beautiful things, and that's one of the things that keeps me going to all of these places.
Well, Tracy, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Was really lovely to have a chance to speak with you. We're going to have a look at this story from here in the Comox Valley, but stay right where you are. We are coming right back. Go is on location today at the Comox First Nation Band Community Hall, and joining me now is Lee Everson. As a mother with 2 young daughters as well as a son, what has this installation brought up around the dinner table?
It has brought up a lot of amazing conversation. Probably one of the biggest things that we talk about is why there's always so many programs for women, self-defense, self-esteem, all these things about protecting yourself, what you do, what you don't do, all those types of those things. And we've had those conversations with our girls. We've never really had those conversations with Carver.
Right.
Because he's a man, a boy, but so that's another question is I think we're missing some pieces. We need to be able to have programs for boys that are teaching, respecting women, honoring women, loving women, just more of that. And that's what I love so much about the First Nations culture, because they hold their women high. They have great respect for their women, and in turn, the women, everybody holds each other up.
Yes.
And it's just a beautiful thing. It really, really is. And I'm so grateful to be able to be part of that. So the conversations that we have around the table, Kaya, our youngest, she often talks about ignorance, and people just don't know. And so what does that mean? What can we do as an individual, as a family? And it's being part of things like this, where we can help raise that awareness. We can help inform. And it doesn't have to be on a soapbox pounding our fist. It can be as simple as, did you know 192 women in BC are missing and presumed murdered? So it can be as easy as that, to be able to create that inquiry, and you start asking yourself questions and to be able to move forward.
Okay. Lee, thank you so much for your involvement in this amazing sacred memorial, and thank you for sharing with us today.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
I'm Mary Ruth Harris. You're watching Go on Shaw TV's Channel 4. Joining me, Ramona Johnson from here at the Comox First Nation. The space has been absolutely transformed. It's just beautiful.
Hard to believe it was a gym.
Hard to believe, completely.
Yes.
Now, it's taken quite a team of volunteers. Let's talk about the support you've had for this installation.
The support for volunteers, could not have done it without them. We have over 300 volunteers.
Wow.
And they've all stepped up and taken their shifts. As you can see how many we have here with us, and we've been like this since install started, with how many that have come. The volunteers have not only shown their support and how they're going to help us install and uninstall and work with us for the whole 2 weeks we're open, but the support they gave us for all our community conversations. I mean, the Sid Williams Theatre, 500 sellout. The Highway of Tears up at North Island College, 250 sellout. July 4th with the cultural sharing in the big house. I was expecting 80 people. About 300.
Wow.
And that's from and when they did the blanket exercise, as soon as we put the call out to our volunteers, full up. They have to do another blanket exercise, so the volunteers are not only volunteering, but they're also coming and showing their support in cultural sharing, in the protocols, and just the awareness and all of that, and coming with their families, not just them.
Right. One of the things I noticed is that every one of them is wearing white gloves, and they have
Lint brushes.
Lint brushes, and they're literally brushing the floor. Such great care.
Yes. Yep. It's couldn't do this without volunteers, and we're so lucky to have so many that stepped up and came to help us.
What would you say to the community for the next 2 weeks?
To the community for the next 2 weeks, please come and have a look at the beautiful vamps that are laid down. Share some acknowledgement of us all just being here. Possibly the only place in BC it's come to. The first time that it's over this way to the northwest coast, because it's always been over in the east. So this is its first time out of that territory over here. It's a real heartwarming cultural ceremony to come see it.
Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for bringing this to the Comox Valley.
Yes.
Absolutely amazing.
Completely honored.
We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Walking with Our Sisters is a sacred memorial to the over 1,800 murdered and missing Indigenous women across Canada. It is being hosted here at the Comox First Nation in the Comox Valley until Saturday, August 15th. It is something that should be experienced by everyone. For Go on Shaw TV, I'm Mary Ruth Harris.